gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 18th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined today by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, and Izubee Charles, our new superstar, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And guys, we got so much to talk about, including, it pains me to admit, some pretty phenomenal detective work, investigative work, whatever you want to call it, by Matt Shodell this week. And we put Matt in the cave. He dug into the numbers and really somehow is trying to convince Izubee and I, and as an extension, you guys, that there really is not any separation between Miami and Clemson. Okay, so everyone's all panicked about this game this weekend. We're pretty sure that it's going to be the Ja'Carri Brown show again. It's hard for us to imagine that Tyler Van Dyke is going to be able to play at this point. And a lot of people are really panicked about this game. Yet somehow, Matt, after about 18 hours in a laboratory, you came out and you spit out a bunch of numbers, and you've convinced Izubee and I that you know what you're talking about. Now it's your turn to convince the Canes Nation of how Miami can possibly be right there from a roster standpoint and a performance standpoint in what so far is a 5-5 season with the almighty Clemson Tigers.
Well, no pressure. It wasn't really me making any statements. I decided this was my idea. These two stupid stories that seemed to make Miami seem right on an even level with Clemson for some bizarre reason. I went about it. The idea was to show there was going to be this enormous gap between the programs that had to be bridged by amazing recruiting and development, free agency and development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm a numbers guy, and I went in and I looked at the season statistics for both teams. And yeah, I mean, Clemson's played a little bit more difficult schedule with a Notre Dame and things like that, but not that many major opponents that are that much better than Miami. I would say they have a more difficult schedule than Miami, but not tremendously so. So I looked at the statistics for the year on offense, on defense, average points, average yards per game, average rushing yards, NCAA rankings. Then I went to the Pro Football Focus. I'm going to call them morons at this point, based on what I found.
Come on, man. Have some sensitivity to the work that people do. Do you know how much time Pro Football Focus graders and analysts put into those grades?
All right, fine. I'll give you a compliment. You're only slightly below how I feel about the Pro Football Focus people at this point. Slightly below.
They're breaking down every player in every play of every game, Matt.
They have no idea.
Show some respect, man. That's a lot of work.
They have no idea.
Feel free to help me anytime you want here. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Let me finish a sentence. They have no idea what's actually called on a specific play. For instance, they graded out Will Mallory very poorly on his run blocking this past game. And whatever Miami asked him to do, which was apparently stand still with his arms out, they graded him at his best of the year. So, I don't know what every player is supposed to do on every single play. Pro Football Focus don't know any better than I do. They assume that if it's a positive outcome, they give them a good grade on that particular play. Even if the guy wasn't supposed to be in that space and got an interception, Pro Football Focus will grade them out perfectly for that. Whereas the Miami coaches will say, you got lucky, and you did not. That was not a good grade for you on that play. You weren't even supposed to be on that side of the field, whatever it is, So anyway, let's get back to these numbers. I don't have them in front of me, so I'll just go off memory. I think Clemson averaged 34.2 points, 409.2 yards per game, 182.1 yards rushing. Miami, going off memory, 25.7 points, 392.2 yards per game, and 140.1 rushing. So
no, that's not what the numbers are.
On
The
offense.
numbers are Clemson averages 21, giving up. They
I'm
allow
talking about offense.
21
Oh,
points
do you
per
only want to
game.
talk about defense? You only want to talk about defense. I'm talking about offense.
Okay, go ahead.
First.
Talk about offense.
I thought we were talking about both because we didn't have a show.
We will talk about both.
We didn't have a show yesterday. I'll make it quick, sort of.
All right, go ahead.
So on offense, Clemson averages only, with a little quick math, 17 more total yards per game. 17 total yards per game than Miami, but a touchdown more. Overall, Clemson's offensive grade, 74.2. Miami's overall grade on offense, 70.5. But Miami has a better receiving grade, 72.0 to 68.4. They have a better run grade, 88.7. Miami has a better run grade, 88.7 to 83.0. So it's somewhat of a wash. You'd say Clemson has an advantage, but not a major advantage. So
by this
that's big picture. I'm not going to go into it in detail because you can all read the story, but we break down by position. You see by position also not a huge difference almost across the board on offense between these two programs as it pertains to grades, production, and NCAA rankings. When you look at the defense now, which Gary wanted to jump to, and again, I'm just off pure memory, Clemson averages allowing 21 points and 340.8 yards per game, 111 that rushing. Miami averages allowing 23.9 points and 356.1 yards per game, 126 yards rushing. So on defense, Miami's giving up an extra 16 yards per game and an extra 2 or 3 points a game. And Clemson is supposed to be this amazing defense. They were supposed to be heading into the year arguably the top most talented defense in the country. But as you look at the numbers, Miami's right there. Even Pro Football Focus, the morons over there. Clemson, 91.2 overall defense grade. Miami has a better overall defense grade on the year, 92.2. Explain that to me, Ferman and Izubee Charles. I don't understand it.
First of all, don't you dare call one of us a moron. Okay, I'm going to preface the conversation with that. Okay?
Well, I didn't call you a moron. I said that you were underneath in my mind where the people at Pro Football Focus are. So I don't know what that makes you. Not a moron. You are not a moron. You're something else.
All right. So Izubee, you take this first. Are you buying any of this? Like, I'm not buying that Miami's roster is right there with Clemson's. I don't care what the PFF stats and numbers say. I feel that top to bottom, depth-wise and everything, Clemson on face value is a much better team.
Yeah, so at first, like everyone thinks, the great big old Clemson, this and that. I didn't really buy it at first. I look at the numbers, and they say the proof is in the pudding sometimes. So, reading that article kind of, hey, maybe the gap is a little bit closer than I thought, because honestly, I believe the gap was pretty, substantial. But Matt did a great job of pulling the idiots at PFF's numbers together and putting a really good piece of work in. But I still think Clemson has the edge overall as a team, but that kind of swayed me a little bit to say, hey, maybe we have a shot in the dark here with these big bad Tigers, apparently.
Wait a minute. Did I hear you call the PFF people idiots too?
By the way, I did.
Did you actually hear that?
Hold on. I just hold the timeout.
Charles just called. Wait a minute. Did he just call the PFF guys idiots also?
I just looked it up on Google because I got concerned after I was using the M word and you use the I word. Apparently, we're not allowed to say those anymore. I know you can't say the R word. I have 2 college age children. I still call them children. And they tell me all the time what words we used when I was a child that are now not okay. I actually just Googled it because I was concerned. The M word and the I word are no longer allowed. So I don't know what we can say about these people over there, but intellectually challenged, I guess. They're intellectually challenged.
These people spend like their whole lives breaking down film.
How do they have a higher defense grade?
I get what you're saying. I get, Matt. I get it. Like they don't understand everything that everybody's supposed to be doing on every play when they are doing the grades. They're assuming certain things at certain times. But other than getting these grades from coaches after they do it, which isn't happening, I think you would agree with that, Matt. This is the best system that there is.
And their statistics too. Miami statistics are right there with sacks, tackles for loss. Like I said, yards allowed, points allowed. Miami's defense is better than Clemson's defense. It's amazing. I wouldn't trade Miami's defense for Clemson's defense right now if you asked me to. Why would we? The statistics show we shouldn't.
I don't know, but the other thing I want to add is we have this brilliant young writer who has joined our staff, and you are teaching him to call the these status, these stat and
I
play
was
evaluation
uneducated.
geeks. I'll call them geeks because they are. I mean, who else can sit there and do that? Grade every player, every play. Like, whoa! Like your eyes, would be really bugging out by the time you were done with that. But you are now rubbing off on Izubee, who is also calling them idiots. We have a problem at CaneSport.com, and it starts with you, Matt Shodell.
I have a lot of problems, okay? a lot of problems. This is one of the smaller problems in my life, okay? I'm literally Googling right now who grades Pro Football Focus film. Apparently it's a very closely guarded secret. All they'll tell us is here I have something here for how they grade the NFL players. Is that the same thing, do you think? I don't know.
It's a similar process. Yeah. Okay, they have analysts. They hire analysts that understand football.
Well, yeah. So I'm looking through it now, but it looks like there's really no system, and they make up the numbers, is what I'm reading. That's all I can see. They just make up the numbers. It's obvious.
So it's going to be really interesting now that we have all this brilliant information to use as reference tools. It's going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out in so many different ways. One, is Miami really capable of competing with Clemson? And then, of course, there's the much debated and way overkilled topic this week of Jacurri Brown. And, it's still a quandary, because if he plays well in this game, it'll be a fantastic accomplishment on his part. And we'll start to get the coaches thinking maybe Jacurri can be our quarterback next year. Okay. If he does not play well, then if anybody dares to comment on it, they're going to get assaulted. And it's going to open up a whole nother layer of debate and stuff, because listen, beyond all the talk amongst us out here and the fans, Miami has to decide what it's going to do at quarterback next year. And part of that is, how hard does the effort to keep Tyler Van Dyke become? I expect it to be extremely intense. I think he'll command the big NIL deals and things like that. I think they'll go all in on keeping Tyler Van Dyke. I think only people outside the building don't think that Tyler Van Dyke is a franchise quarterback. And then the question is going to become, what happens to Jake Garcia? I mean, it looks to me, Matt, like they're saying bye, Jake. I mean, but just by their actions these last few weeks. Would you agree with that?
Look,
he's not.
I don't. The bottom line. It's the wrong. You're asking the wrong question. Are they saying bye to him? I don't know, but it's a. Well,
he wins the Virginia game and then he's done for the year. It looks like.
Right. I don't know if they go to Jake Garcia and say, we don't want you anymore, but I have a very strong feeling Jake Garcia will go to them and say, I'm leaving. The end result's the same, whether it's them forcing him out or not. They're going to play the quarterback that they think gives them the best chance to win. And, there's still this whole, I was dealing with somebody yesterday on the message boards. There's this whole throng of people who still don't understand that I never said to start Jake Garcia in the sense that he should start over Tyler Van Dyke for the season. I said
backtrack. You absolutely
no,
did.
but again, this is
you wanted to see him play a whole game. You got to
correct.
do it,
and we found out, what we needed. And now Jacurri has played a full game, and we found out what we needed. But we'll find out more against Clemson regarding Jacurri. But the quarterback situation for next year, this was supposed to be an amazing quarterback room, one of the best in the country. This is supposed to be an amazing tight ends room, the best in the country, if not the best, one of the best. This is supposed to be one of the deepest and best running back rooms in the country, or the ACC, whichever you wanted to say. The offensive line was a major question mark, but Mario and Alex Mirabal have a track record, and they worked with these guys since January. So this was supposed to be this amazing offense. And yeah, the receivers we were very concerned about. That was the only position we had any concerns about, was wide receiver. And as it turns out, every single position group on offense has failed in some capacity on multiple occasions in multiple games. So you know what? I'm all for restarting. I'm all for, let's not keep the same guys and hope there's a different result. That's not how Matt Shodell does things. So if you have to blow up the quarterback room, if you have to blow up the running backs room, whatever it takes, if you have NIL in place, which Miami thinks it does, we'll find out in December on signing day when the bidding wars happen, and then in the transfer portal when the bidding wars happen even more. you can quickly rebuild all the positions. That's the good news, because like in a game, if there's one problem you can put your finger on, you can fix it. And like Kevin Steele has said, it's been something different in every single game that he's dealing with. That's how I feel it is on offense for Miami. It's something different every single game, a problem with every single position, multiple aspects in every single game. The way you fix that is new personnel. You've had this personnel. It's not like these are just true freshmen who are all making mistakes. Your true freshmen are actually, or your first-year players are actually the guys who are making plays, from Colby Young to Inez Cooper to Jakari. It's bizarre, but the older players are not coming through, and you need new blood, man. And when I say new blood, it can be older players that are free agents, but I'm all in favor of blowing this thing up. It's not working. I don't know. I think Josh Gaddis with much better personnel would look a heck of a lot better, especially if they had a great offensive line. And I think fans would not complain if Josh Gaddis had the same offensive line from Michigan that he did at Miami. But Josh Gaddis' mistake was trying to run the same offense that he knows and not catering it to the current team. And I know he tries to put different plays in every week for an opponent, but whatever it is, there's a disconnect. I don't know if he's not teaching it right. I don't know if the personnel is not right. I don't know if he's not coming up with the correct way to attack some of these teams. Certainly last weekend, it looked a lot better, but it's not working. And at the end of the day, it comes back to Josh Gaddis. You can blame players all you want, but at the end of the day, Josh Gaddis is the one who is responsible. And above him is Mario Cristobal for getting it right. And Mario has to make a very difficult decision if Miami's offense does not look good these final two games.
Yeah, I agree. On the coordinator, on the quarterbacks, who to go after in the transfer portal. Yeah. The good thing, though, is there's going to be clarity, I think, in the next 8 days. Izubee, we're going to see the Clemson game. Then 7 days later, we get to see the Pitt game. And I hope and think, are going to have a pretty good read on all of this stuff by the time Thanksgiving weekend is done.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, with the season wrapping up, I mean, you already have some guys hopping in the transfer portal here. You're hearing this, you're hearing that. So I feel like once all that starts, falling into place, guys coming in, you have guys visiting Miami, guys leaving Miami, you're really going to see what the roster is going to look at next year, because honestly, that's what you're really focused on. This year's kind of, not saying it's completely over, but there's not much left this year. So you start preparing, hey, we're getting things rolling for next year. Like you mentioned, the transfer portal is going to be big. Signing day is right around the corner. So you're really going to start to see how the team is going to shape up, or potentially shape up for year two under Mario Cristobal.
So a lot to really slice and dice up here, not just tomorrow against Clemson, but then next week against Pitt. And it's two decent opponents, and that's a good thing, because we get to see all of these guys compete against real competition. And I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Now, Izubee mentioned the transfer portal and guys leaving. Thad Franklin, guys, walked out of practice this week. He becomes the third player, joining Keyshawn Smith and Gilbert Frierson, to leave the team here in the final weeks of the season. And this is becoming a trend around the country. There are kids leaving Florida's program in the last week or so. And I haven't researched every program in the country, but it's looking to me like with this portal and everything, and guys don't want to get hurt before they go in the portal and things like that, that more and more players are taking themselves out of programs. And Izubee, you were a player. We'll start with you. Your thoughts on just these trends that we're seeing of guys leaving school in the middle of the season, knowing that they're going into the portal.
I mean, honestly, I think that's what it is. They know they're not going to be here next year. It's kind of a, why should I wait till the season's over? Might as well get a head start on this. I mean, you see, like you said, a mass hiatus. I think 7 or 8 guys from University of Florida getting dismissed, leaving the team, end of the transfer portal. Got Frierson saying, hey, I'm a graduate senior. I don't have to wait to go in the portal. I'm just going to leave now, start exploring my options. So I think it's really just guys saying, hey, I'm kind of over this. Let me get this head start before all the chaos and everything else starts with this portal. So, I mean, not too surprised to see it. It makes a lot of sense to me, honestly.
You like it or dislike it?
A little bit of both, honestly. If your time is out, your time's out. No need to stretch anything longer than you have to. But if it's kind of a situation where you're walking out of practice, I feel like that's kind of a little iffy on that. But how Frierson did it, hey, guys, I'm a grad senior. My time's up, Miami. Got to look for another option. That's respectful. That's awesome. But kind of walking out of practice, I feel like that's not the best of look. I wasn't there to know the situation or circumstances, but I like how my guy Gilbert Frierson did it.
Yeah, I agree with you. But Thad Franklin could have handled it better, but he's dropping on the depth chart by the second. Don Chaney's back now. Whoop, right past Franklin. Lucius Stanley is past Thad Franklin. And it wasn't looking good for him. He was not going to play anymore, and probably could have made less of a grand exit. The finale didn't have to be a showstopper, probably to that degree. But I don't blame him for leaving. There's no point in him going through another few weeks of practice, much less than 15 practices if Miami's fortunate enough to join a bowl game. So, Matt, you get the closing word on this subject. What's your thoughts?
The two of you are both M words, okay? Because all you both do is look at the minutia. You look at the minutia. This is the big picture. The big picture is if Miami, by some miracle, beats Pittsburgh, I don't think they're beating Clemson. Maybe a miracle will happen. Who knows? If by some miracle they beat Pittsburgh, they can basically take one clown car to whatever bowl game they're going to and fit all 50 to 55 members of their team that are left to try and play some bowl game with a half of a roster that shouldn't even be there because everybody enters the transfer portal December 5th to start finding their new home. Anybody who wants to leave, they don't want to wait because you know what? This is the truth, Gary. I don't care what you say. If you wait to go in the transfer portal until after your bowl game, your spot has already been filled by someone else the school's taken in the portal. So everyone goes in December 5th. Nobody's there for a bowl game. I expect 25 to 30 guys to be in the portal, 20 to 25 guys to be in the portal. That leaves you, and with 10 seniors who may or may not play, I don't know if they'll stick around or not, that leaves you with like 50 guys to play in a bowl game. That's not tenable. Some guys are injured. You can't even use them. That takes it down to 40 guys. It's like less than a high school roster, man. This is at a tiny school that only has 80 kids at it, okay? This is not okay. The NCAA is a nightmare, and a nightmare scenario will be, forget COVID canceling bowl games, NCAA's transfer portal is going to cancel bowl games. The date they picked to go in the transfer portal December 5th is a joke. These people are M words at the NCAA. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard to let people start in the transfer portal December 5th when everyone wants to get in there to let schools know, I'm here. Don't take that guy. I'm here. At mad rush December 5th before a bowl game. How about doing it after the bowl games, geniuses? I mean, it's the stupidest thing I ever heard. There's going to be teams around the country that can't field bowl teams with any degree of success that anyone's going to want to watch because all their players will be in the portal already.
Yeah, you'd probably have to go back to the one signing day in February if you did that, but it doesn't. I can't believe I'm saying this again, but you are making sense because to open up the transfer portal December 5th and have signing day on December 21st with all these teams getting ready to play in bowl games and coaches having to figure out who's coming, who's going, and then focus on practice at the same time. And it is going to be complete, utter chaos in college football. There is no doubt about it. All right. Speaking of complete and utter chaos, I'm going to move on to another subject right now. I'm going to kind of jump ahead because that's such a good, tidy transition. I mean, going from chaos to something that was really chaotic. And that was yesterday afternoon when we sent Izubee out to American Heritage High School to talk to
Izubee, man.
To talk to Mark Fletcher. And this is now the second time in the last few weeks that something like this has happened.
You got Jaleel Florence twice.
But face to face, not even on the phone. I mean, he goes out to talk to Mark Fletcher, who only the night before puts out a big announcement on social media. I am decommitted from Ohio State. Hey, everybody, check this out. I decommitted. Okay, Mark, we're all in, baby. Like, Izubee goes racing out to American Heritage and watches the last half of practice, and he's there ready to talk to Mark Fletcher. And the coach comes out and says, Mark is not doing interviews. Mark is not speaking.
You know what, Izubee? Let's do this. Izubee, I'm going to pretend I'm Mark Fletcher. Ask me your questions. You're going to ask Mark, and then, we can have a fake story out of it. Go, what's your first question? I'm here for you.
Hey, Mark, how you doing today, man? Decommitted from Ohio State.
I'm doing terrible.
You're doing terrible?
Terrible.
All right. Thanks for the interview, Mark. I appreciate it.
That's the whole interview. That's it. All right. Nice talking to you, Izubee.
Thank you,
All
Mark.
we were looking for is, hey, Mark, okay, you decommitted from Ohio State. Why did you do it? And then where are you going now? What is your timeline? What schools are you considering?
Are you asking me or are you asking the hypothetical, Mark?
No,
I'll
I'm
answer.
telling everybody what our
Oh.
intent was.
Okay.
Is Miami in the picture? To what degree are they? Those are the basic questions that Izubee was hoping to ask Mark. And the coach comes out like a messenger and says, Mark's not doing interviews.
Well, I will add some background. The only background I have, okay.
Oh, I know what story you're getting ready to tell.
I reached out to 8 different sources last night, or was it two nights ago, when this news broke, and they were all American Heritage based sources, but only one of them would talk to me about it. And he told me that the Florida running backs coach was with Mark from the quote was from sun up to sundown on Monday, and Mark had visited the school previously, obviously that weekend. They just put the full court press on, so it didn't take a genius to know, and the coach told me as much. Also, it was one of the coaches, so I could say that. I'm not telling you which one, but it didn't take a genius to know that he was going to decommit for Florida. Like, this was not from Miami that he decommitted, So I know one of the networks put up a story that Miami's first in line with no quotes, no sources, whatever. That was never true. And I feel bad because some people came in our board all excited about it. That was never true, unfortunately. This was all about Florida. But with that said, this is all NIL related. And this is the problem with recruiting now, is things like this are going to happen that could wind up in Miami's favor or could wind up not in Miami's favor. And this is not over. Mark loves the University of Miami. Yeah, he saw a terrible game against Florida State that he was here for. And yeah, he saw a big rushing attack for Florida when he visited there. But at the end of the day, money talks, like that's just a fact. And there's no reason that if somebody whose name rhymes with Bon Buies wants to pony up enough cash that he won't wind up at Miami on signing day. So the night before signing day is basically when this can all go down. We'll find out.
It's going to be a slugfest. The Gator Collective suddenly has a war chest of its own, and you see they are getting themselves in the mix everywhere. Samson Oklahoma, he just left Gainesville yesterday evening. We don't know what's happening there. Everybody's been presuming he's coming to Miami. Does that change now that he's visited Gainesville? I wrote about this 2 days ago. I mean, these Florida-Miami recruiting wars, guys, are unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, you have your rivalries, you battle out for a few kids every year. I mean, this seems like almost every recruit, Florida and Miami are like engaged in mortal combat for it. Izubee, you're a millennial. It's kind of like watching a video game on television.
It is, but I have a simple resolution to all this battle. Just play it out for 4 quarters. Whoever wins, you get all the recruits. Easy as that.
Winner take all.
What,
Hard Rock Stadium or the Swamp, or do we play it at a neutral field?
We'll play wherever, as long as whoever wins
gets all the kids. I wonder if Mario and Billy Napier would agree to that. Not a bad idea, I would say. All right, we got a few more things we got to talk about today, but first, let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
Hey sis, want to play one-on-one? What about 3-on-3? Let's do it. You're not Haley. Wait a minute.
LifeWallet user not detected.
I knew it.
Secure your health information and privacy with LifeWallet. LifeWallet. Saving time, saving lives.
They've got some new cigarette racing marketing materials that are coming out too. I texted them. I said we need a new commercial, man. Like send that cigarette racing Cavender Twins commercial over, and hopefully we'll get that in time for next week. And women's basketball and men's basketball, Izubee, both off. to undefeated seasons. And that takes me to our next story today. You've got the story of the Miami basketball team getting ready to go up to Connecticut and play in the I think it's called the Naismith tournament. And it's got some special significance for Jim Larrañaga. He is at 699 career victories, and he has a chance on Saturday against Providence to get his 700th career victory. And you know what's like really cool about this story? And Izubee got to do it. He played his college basketball at Providence. Izubee, give us a preview.
Yeah, so Coach Larrañaga was just talking about, his time at Providence. The funny thing that he mentioned in the press conference, he actually had a triple-double during his time while he's playing at Providence. So it was pretty cool. But just like Coach L, I asked him, hey, how cool is it going to be, potentially getting win number 700 versus your old school? And he just deflected and said, hey, it's just another basketball game. We got to come in with the mindset. It's about this year's teams, nothing about me. He said, hopefully I get win number 700 this year, so I don't have to wait another year. But he said everything's about his team, and if the win comes, that's awesome too. But real cool story.
My guess is if he wins that 700th Saturday against Providence, he's going to do one of those "let's get jiggy with it" dances that Matt Shodell taught him when they took ballroom dancing together at the Coconut Grove Boys Club or wherever it was where you took those classes with Jim. Where he kind of like bobs around like this and tries to act all cool. Kind of like when Izubee gets together with his friends and they put some music on and they start dancing to it. Jim tries to emulate that, but I don't think he's real successful, Izubee. I'm sure your parties look a little bit different than Jim Larrañaga's.
I think I'll host Coach at one of these parties, see if he can keep up with the young bucks, but I don't think so.
But men's basketball, and we'll try to be serious here for a minute, has really gotten off to a nice start of the season, and you just see the chemistry building. It's not all the Nigel Pack, Isaiah Wong show. Everybody's contributing. Poplar is looking good. The inside game is off the, way off the charts, better than people probably thought it was going to be. And I think it's encouraging for them as they keep moving forward in the season. Now they step up a little bit this weekend against Providence, and then the second game in that tournament will probably be another reasonably challenging game as opposed to these first few. But Izubee, you've been at them all, and your thoughts on what you're seeing from Miami men's basketball so far this season.
I love what I've seen from 1 through 5. Like you mentioned, down in the post, Norchad's doing awesome, being a beast down there, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. Another thing I love with this team is it's just like you mentioned, not the Nigel Pack and Isaiah Wong show. Versus Florida A&M, they kind of struggled shooting. I think combined 1 for 13 or 1 for 14, but you still had the other 4 or 5 guys picking up 4 scores in double digits. So their ability to not just rely on Wong and Pack is huge, and Jordan Miller's just being that guy in the middle running the show for them. So it's awesome to see. And then with this Providence game too, it's going to be a real big test. Providence, Big East champions last year, Sweet 16 appearance. So it's not going to be a cakewalk if Larrañaga wants to get that win number 700.
Again, why is everybody looking at the minutia? I mean, nobody's talking about this, okay? But the fact is, Mario Cristobal is only 633 wins away from Jim Larrañaga, and nobody's even talking about that. What is wrong with people out there? They're just focused on Larrañaga and 700 wins. What about Mario Cristobal? It's not right.
Maybe Norchad can suit up this Saturday to help that team out a little bit.
You are hitting on something there, Izubee Charles, because I'm watching Norchad and I'm thinking, my God, would he be something else on the football field? Now, I don't know what his NBA future might be like, but I'm telling you, if I'm Mario Cristobal, I'm thinking, man, we gotta throw this kid some NIL that will supersede if he doesn't go in the NFL draft and the NBA draft, and he's looking at going overseas to Europe to play basketball. I'm throwing him some money in that transfer portal and saying, come try football, young man. I mean, you could play him at tight end, you could play him at defensive end. His athletic ability, Izubee, is insane.
Yeah, it's off the charts. He jumps out the gym. He's a bully down there. I mean, there's guys bigger than him. He's just out muscling for rebounds. I'm just like, throw him a fade at the 2-yard line and just see what he can do, man. Just have him out there for a little bit. You never know. It never hurts.
I mean, he's Jimmy Graham on steroids, and Jimmy Graham had a really nice NFL career. You're shaking your head, Shodell. What, you have a problem?
Because Jimmy Graham averaged like 4 points and 5 rebounds a game, but whatever, man. I mean, and
Okay,
you can't compare anybody to Jimmy Graham as a tight end in the NFL prospect wise. They don't grow on trees like that, but whatever. Yeah, they're the same. Compare them. Just one's on steroids. Okay, great.
Now, some of these guys in Europe, Matt, make big money. Like I was with Shane Larkin a couple weeks ago. We were watching a mutual friend of ours racehorse run, believe it or not. And I was talking to Shane about Europe, and he's doing really well. Like he's making several $1 million a year over there. He's considered one of the better players in the European League, and it's worked out great for him to go to Europe. And if you can do that, if you're Norchad and you can do that, that's all great. But what if you're over there making a couple $100,000 or something? Heck, you could get a couple $100,000 in an NIL deal to come try football, and you might make millions if it works. If he's as good as I think he could be, he'd make a lot of money playing football. So, and they
offered him $1 million pesos to play in Mexico, and he took it, but it turns out it's only $51,000, which is still not bad. But the thing with Jimmy Graham, getting back to him, people don't remember this. He wasn't the greatest athlete in the world. This is a story of how every Miami Hurricane should treat everything. Jimmy Graham as a child was dropped off at a foster home by his mother. She just disappeared. He was beat up every day for a couple of years. He eventually found a foster mom who really took great care of him. But he learned to fend for himself from an early age. He learned that he had to be stronger than everybody else to not get beat up at an early age. And it really, a lot of this stuff is ingrained in student athlete football players at a young age. If you are coddled at a young age, if you're told how great you are at a young age, and if you are great at a young age, which a lot of these 5 stars are, right? They come out and they're just bigger, faster, stronger. Eventually everyone catches up to you a little bit, but when you're ahead of the curve at that young age, everyone who's had children know, if they play sports, some children wind up 5'2" when most of the kids that age are 4'6". They just hit puberty earlier, whatever it is. And then eventually a lot of those kids sort of don't turn out to be as amazing as they were at that age when they're physically better than everyone else. It all comes down to hard work. And a lot of these student athletes that are senior 5 stars, 4 stars now, what Mario has to do is figure out which of these guys have that Jimmy Graham in them, have that, I will do whatever it takes. I've been at the lowest of lows. I know what it feels like, and what you have to do to get out of bad situations. You have that maturity, you have that strength inside of you. And that is what makes great football players, when you already have the ability combined with the Jimmy Graham work ethic and take no prisoners approach. He was great in basketball, not because he had Norchad Omier's skills whatsoever or size. He was great because he tried. He didn't even start. He was the guy who was diving for loose balls. He was the guy who never showed up in a box score. He averaged 4 points and 5 rebounds, whatever it was. He would do anything for that team. He worked harder or as hard as anybody on that team with no expectation of even going to the NBA. It's just how he always was within himself, driving himself to be the best. And if you don't have guys that want to drive themselves to be the best, you wind up with a team like what it looks like right now this year in football, unfortunately, because we talked about, the defensive and offensive numbers aren't that different than Clemson. And I asked you guys why that is. I can't figure it out. The only thing I can think of is they just don't want it as bad as the other team. They don't show up sometimes. Some plays, they do great. Other plays just have complete busts, and that costs them games. I don't know. Aside from that, I have no idea what it could be, because either Pro Football Focus and statistics make no sense and we should never refer to them again, or there's something weird going on that we're not thinking of.
I don't know, man. Any guy that dunks on people's heads and calls them baby food, like Norchad does, man, I'm riding with that guy, Izubee. And have you gotten to the bottom of this baby food thing that's been going on with him?
Yeah, so I asked him actually at the press conference, and they were saying during the first practice, I think he had a freshman on him in the post. He's like, feed me the ball. He's too small. He's baby food. And then ever since he said it, the team hasn't let go. And every time he's in the post, he thinks he has a mismatch. He has baby food. They dump it off to him, and he gets to work. So the crowd was chanting baby food against Florida A&M, and he was loving it. He said he loves it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they had a funny video that they did the other day, and I'm looking for it. I would love to play it right now on the show, but I can't find it right this minute. But they're having a lot of fun with that, the whole baby food thing, and they had like everybody walking out of the locker room saying baby food, and kind of making fun of Norchad. But you could see where this basketball thing is going, and these guys got chemistry, and they're having fun, and they're playing well, and they are darn good. Okay, and I am looking forward to seeing this team go through the ACC schedule. I think they're going to be something else in the ACC this year, and it's going to be interesting to see. All right, let's see what else we got going here. I'll cover some of the football stuff first. We do have a full preview of the Clemson Tigers that you're going to watch play your Miami Hurricanes on Saturday, so make sure you check that out. We also catch up with defensive end Mitchell Agude for his thoughts on the Clemson Challenge on Saturday. We talked to tight end Jaleel Skinner, so make sure you check that one out as well. We also had our weekly You Bet CaneSport episode with Lee Sterling breaking down the Miami Clemson game, so you'll want to check that out. And the last story I want to talk about today is an interesting one because Izubee uncovered one of the freaks of 2024 who is emerging from the state of Alabama, who has Miami on his radar, and vice versa. He is a running back by the name of Kevin Riley. And Izubee, you spoke to him, and this is a kid that is like coming fast, and people are flocking to offer him.
Yeah, Kevin Riley out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Honestly, when I saw his On3 profile, I said no stars. And then I checked his Twitter and I seen Alabama, Georgia, Texas, everyone offering him. So I'm like, what is going on here? I turn on his tape. I understand why everyone's, flocking over. This kid is the most patient back I've seen through this cycle, maybe the 2024. He waits at the line. He sees an opening and then he's just gone. Catches passes out of the backfield. Just a really solid player. And when I was talking to him, he mentioned how running back Coach Kevin Smith really just kept it real with him in the phone calls, told him about the school, told him about what they love about him. So Kevin Riley is definitely a name to keep on your radar for that 2024 list.
All right, so that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport for today. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us and putting up with Matt.
Not easy.
Easy, yeah. A lot to look forward to this weekend. I'm getting ready to head to the airport here in a couple hours, heading up to Clemson. I'm really looking forward to seeing this game and how the offense performs. I like the challenge. Clemson's got a good defense, and I hope that Josh Gaddis seizes the moment and asks a little bit more of them. Get these guys out of their comfort zone. Let's get the receivers back involved in the game. Let's get the tight ends back involved in the game. Let's get Will Mallory 6, 7, 8 touches in this game. Let's get Jaleel Skinner 3 or 4 touches in this game. Who else, Matt? Who else do we want to see? Restrepo.
On offense or on defense?
Colby Young. I want to see Jacoby George. I want to see all of these guys that want to be playmakers for the Miami Hurricanes involved in the offense this week, because they have hard decisions to make, both the players and the coaches, over who is going into the transfer portal in a little over a week or so now. I guess we're 2 weeks away from entrance into the transfer portal. And Matt, we've spoken about this. Like, there's going to be 20, 30 kids that are going to end up in the portal. They got to make sure that it's the right ones, and that they're not just letting guys go that are going to go be superstars at another school who they didn't get to evaluate properly because they didn't run the offense through them at any time this season. And this is a chance against good competition to see who can do what, who are keepers, and who are transfer portal candidates, in my opinion. And before I sign off, Izubee, we'll get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail. I want to see more of the offense kind of open up the playbook. Colby Young hasn't been the biggest factor in the offense the past 2 or 3 weeks, so I want to see his targets go up. I love what Brashard Smith has been doing with the quick dump offs. See a bunch more of him and just let the young guys play, honestly. You've seen success with Jalil, with Inez, with Jakari, and all the guys. So just open up that playbook and let's see what we can do against Clemson.
Yeah, and if they're not good enough, you were going to lose the game anyway. So you're playing Clemson on the road. Like, you're 19-point underdogs, Nobody's expecting a victory in this game. This is a wonderful time to find out what you've got. Okay.
By the way, I'm pretty sure Gaddis has been saving all his plays for this game. He hasn't run anything. He hasn't run anything.
I hope so, because we got to see what he can do too. I mean, it's his judgment day also.
The offense has looked pretty predictable through these first 10 games, and that's unfortunate. Hopefully, he has some wrinkles he's going to throw at Clemson somehow.
It better not be predictable.
With a dual threat quarterback like Jakari, I hope they're going to spend the whole week, working on some very Clemson-specific plays with him, moving the pocket, run-pass option stuff that's different than the run-pass option stuff with the straight-ahead runs, that sort of thing. So there are other ways to do it. We'll see.
And let him throw the ball down the field. If he
let's not get too crazy. Let's not get too crazy.
You got to know, has he improved or has he not improved? I'm tired of debating, grappling, whatever you want to call it, with all these guys on our YouTube comments.
All right, let me tell you something. Here's my prediction, just knowing what I feel like I know. I believe the very first play of the game will be a deep shot on a go route to somebody. Okay, because he wants to say to Clemson, watch out. I predict it will be incomplete, and then I predict they just run the ball a lot. That's my prediction.
Yeah,
that's my crazy prediction for the week
against Clemson. How do I don't know what we'll see. I don't want to try to predict.
Clemson's offense is not real good. I think Miami is going to try and keep it close by running the ball, using the clock, because Clemson's defense hasn't been good against the run. They've given up over 200 yards twice in the last 4 games, 150 yards on the ground last game to Louisville. So Miami's going to try to run the ball, control the clock, use their defensive ends and defensive linemen to get pressure on DJ. And Clemson's offense has not been great at all. It actually hasn't been very good at all. DJ's been pulled 2 of the last 4 games for the backup. So that, I believe, is what Miami's doing. I think Miami's going to be very conservative on offense, aside from the first play, and see what happens. And if they fall behind by double digits, then they'll have to throw the ball. They will have to throw the ball. But I don't think they're going to come out on the attack, unfortunately, because I would love to see it. I would love to see them attacking down the field, put Clemson on their heels. I don't think that's going to happen, just knowing what we've seen from Josh Gaddis.
All right, well, it's going to be exciting. And those of you that are going to the game this weekend, make sure you say hello. I'll be looking for you out there during pregame and stuff. And I love when our subscribers say howdy. And we thank you for starting your day out with us. Hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. If you're not already a subscriber to CaneSport.com and you don't get to read the masterful work of Matt Shodell, Izubee Charles, then please take the time this weekend. We've got I think it's a $10 introductory subscription offer that'll take you to the start of next football season. Get that subscription in the bag and come join our community. I don't think you'll be sorry. And we will do our best every single day to make it a great place for you to hang out. So for Izubee Charles and Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for joining us and have a great day, everybody.